Hello everyone. So video 2. So video 1 and building our confidence was diving in and going into what are our natural strengths? What are our natural gifts? And so I hope that you did the homework, and if you didn't, go back and download the Finding Your Strengths so that you can follow the path. It's just a list of 5 questions, but also helps you incorporate weaknesses. It's the foundation for what we're going to do today, right? So based on your answers and based on what you found out about yourself is where we're going to start today. And so we've identified our strengths, and now what we're going to do, and we're going to talk about doing, is, let me pull up my slide, is we are going to identify what our standards are, and then we're going to raise them. So our standards are the principles and values that we live our lives by, right? And so right from in chapter 5 of my book, on pages 62 and 63, we go over the definitions, and I'm just going to read to you right out of my book. All right. A principle is a natural law or fundamental truth that is external to us. Okay, that's what a principle is. A value is the worth or priority that we place on people's things, ideas, and principles. Okay, so your values is the priority you place on it. A principle exists whether you believe it or not. The example I use when we're doing the course, when we're in our How to Punch, the Ignite course, our 4-week confidence course, is gravity. Whether you believe in gravity or not, it exists, right? You use it every day. Whether you believe in oxygen or not, you use it every day. So there are principles that exist, whether you believe in them or not, and your values are the priority that you place on these things. All right. And it's important that you understand the difference between a principle and a value, because that's how you make up your personal standard. The key thing, and this is something that I go over in the book, is a paradigm. And a paradigm is the way that you perceive, understand, and interpret your surrounding world. Okay, so your paradigm is how you interpret all of these things. And it's important to understand the definition of these 3 things, because when you want to make a change, when you want to start making a difference, these are the things you have to go to and identify to know where do you have to shift. Now, if you want to talk about making major changes, we're talking about paradigm shift. Like I said, it's in the book. It's in chapter 5. It goes into shifts in action and how to create that. But today I just want to give you an overview of how these things work to how you live your life right now. Okay? So identifying your standards and raising them, it starts with owning what you know to be true about who you are. Okay, we talked about yesterday in the previous video, we talked about how it's not your fault, right? It's not your fault that we are immersed in a world where we are comparing ourselves to others. We're comparing our successes to others. We're comparing our worth to others, right? But there are some things that you know to be true about you. What is that? I shared with you in the introduction video when I was 18 and I was pregnant in a foreign country and my family disowned me, and I was dealing with all of that pressure of my commanders and my first sergeants. If you're in the military, you know what I mean. If you're not in the military, think about your manager, your boss, and your boss's boss, right? They're all pressuring me to tell them who the father was, and it was just a big thing. I'm 18 in a foreign country dealing with that. But I did know the things that were true about me, right? I knew that I had made a good decision. Even though in my gut, I knew it was a good decision. But I also knew that I could handle anything. Because people didn't think, when I told them I was joining the Army, they laughed. And they thought that I couldn't make it through basic training, or they thought I couldn't make it through this. So I knew that, and I know that I'm a learner. Like, I knew that about me. What is true about you? What are the things, it doesn't matter what anyone says to you, you would call them a liar, and you would say, that's not who I am. Okay, so I want you to start by writing down. Don't overthink it. Like, the first things that come to you. So own who you are. All right. The second part of this is Don't accept what others think you can do. Don't believe them when they tell you what you can't do. When I was pregnant, the first thing that my family told me, I would never go to college, which was the whole reason I joined the Army, to pay for college. I would never make anything of myself. I would never have a nice home. I would never be able to live the life that I wanted, right? Now, I could have believed them, and I could have become that, but I chose not to. I knew that I joined the Army to pay for school. I didn't have to worry about paying for school. I didn't have to worry about that. I mean, I had a child to raise. It made it more challenging having a baby. And then before I even finished my college education, I got pregnant again from a woman who didn't ever plan on having kids, right? But I got pregnant again during like my last semester. But just because people think that about you, you don't have to believe it. You don't have to buy into it, right? In the book I share about when I opened my martial arts school. I opened it for a friend who wanted it as his dream. So don't buy into what others think that you can do. People didn't think I could finish my book. People didn't think I would get my book published. People didn't think I'd get my education. People didn't think that I'd be married to my husband 30 years later. So what they think doesn't matter. What you think matters. So don't accept what others think that you can do. Choose to use what you know to be true to fuel you forward. Some people use this as fuel to prove them wrong. If that works for you, do that. I just knew, for me, my choice, my truth, was that I knew what I was capable of. And I wasn't going to let them stop me from doing what I said I was going to do, which was join the Army to get money for school, to get an education. Everything else that came with it totally wasn't part of the plan, but that was the plan, and so I maintained that plan. But for those of you that are in the middle of like a transition, you're taking it to a whole nother level. This is still true for you, because I caught myself doing it the other day. Well, okay, like a few months ago. But when you find someone that you admire, or find someone that you want to be like, sometimes we allow their perceptions of who we are to cloud and stop us from really stepping into who we want to be. So I just challenge you, if that's the person that you are, or that's the place that you are, don't let their belief or non-belief impact what you know to fuel you forward, if that makes sense, right? I had to forgive myself for believing their limitations and not busting through mine. Look at your personal standards or your paradigms. Like, what are you choosing to believe about the world? What are you choosing to do? If you have the book, you've got the list of the principles and values to kind of get more clarity on that. If you don't, you can go to howtopunchfailureInTheFace.com, put in your information, and you can go to that chapter. I have a whole assignment there, a whole worksheet that you can work through to figure out like what your principles are and what your values are, how you're living your life, and where you're sitting, right? Because what's important to me might not be important to you. I have a really good friend who has a marketing agency, and she just started her own business, but she started her own business so she could actually work less and control her schedule, and she wanted to make some more money, but it was more important to her to work less and maintain her own schedule. So for her, success was that, being able to do that. So that's what her success looks like. So it's your definition of success. It's what you want to do. It's how you want to show up, not how everybody else thinks you should be, do, or exist. That's the one thing. So with this section, the homework is working on your personal development plan based on your goals, based on what motivates you, right? Our principles, our values, our standards are what motivate us. Okay, so identifying what truly motivates you. It's not always money. It's not always notoriety. It's not always, money and titles. I mean, it just depends on who you are. Okay, for me, it's impact. For me, I want to reach as many people and empower and inspire as many people as I can. That's what motivates me. That's what helps me get things done. When people say, I don't see how you do that, because that's important to me. And I had, right before COVID happened, I had gotten really sick. And so I realized you don't always have the time that you think that you do. And so that's the other thing that is burning in me, is that I've got to up my game and do things differently and put myself out there in ways that honestly don't always make me comfortable. But it's not about my comfort. It's about helping you find your awesomeness, know that you're amazing, and help you deliver that into the world. So this personal development plan is really that. It's, again, like I told you in the beginning, you're going to have to set time aside to spend time with yourself and really get back in touch with what is important to you. And that's what this particular thing will do. We've got 2 downloads with this video. You've got the personal development plan, but you also have the corresponding workbook, like explaining the personal development plan, why it's important, what you're going to get out of it, how to create it, and then the journal to actually create it. Now, I don't want you to freak out and get overwhelmed and shut down and stop on me right now, because the plan, it's just a framework. And the step doesn't have to be a massive step. It just has to be a baby step. Even if the beginning of your personal development plan is saying no to something that you don't want to do. It's small steps, but you got to move forward. You got to step towards your goal. You got to step towards being and doing the thing that you want to do. How many steps it takes, completely your journey, completely your path. Don't judge it by anyone else's, but do get on your journey and do get on your path. And take as long as it takes for you to do it where you. Now, but, there's a caveat. You cannot let fear stop you. You cannot let, that's why I wrote the book, How to Punch Failure in the Face, because fear and other things stopping you from becoming you, now that we have to fix. But how long it takes you to get where you want to go, completely your choice. As long as you're moving towards it. As long as you feel like you're taking the steps to do it. All right. Now, I want you to know, I say this to you, right? I'm in the middle of doing this very thing myself. My students challenged, no, what did she tell me? She told me, I didn't mean for you to do it. But when I shared with her my book, because she's highlighted in my book as one of my students, that Punch Failure in the Face, she said, this really isn't written for kids. I said, it's not. So I told her that I would write it for kids. And I shared with her that I'm actually struggling with writing it for kids. And I asked her, and she's 11, I asked her for her help. I said, I need to understand how to write it in a way that you get it. And can you help me? And she's like, I didn't think you were going to do it. I said, why wouldn't I do it? Right? Because it's just as important for teens. It's just as important for adults. So I want you to understand that I'm not coming to you from a place where I have everything figured out. I'm pushing through and doing things that make me uncomfortable too. And so I use these tools that I'm giving you all the time to get that done. All right. So that's what I want you to spend time doing, and block it off. No distractions. Spend time with yourself, with your favorite beverage, in your favorite spot, listening to your favorite music, or whatever calms you in your favorite place, and spend time with yourself and really begin to map this part out. It's so important, right? Because the whole purpose of this course is for you to be more confident now. And this is going to help you remember. It's going to help you remember a time when you were, and it's going to help you want to attach to that person again. A time in your life where you were confident and you were fearless and nobody could tell you nothing about nothing. That's what we're creating. So stick with me. I promise it'll be worth it. All right, so download both downloads, the creating the plan and the plan. Block off the time to do it. And I will see you in the next video.